Kaplan, I want to thank you for being part of this. Your name comes up with everybody.
Oh,
They
jeez.
all, yeah, and it's whole been a learning curve. It's like watching all your videos, and so how you doing now?
Well, good. I came back to Ohio after 25 years in California in December, and it was a bad time. It was a rough couple months coming through the winter.
Okay.
So great now.
All
How we got
right.
through that?
Oh, once you got through the snow, where in California were you?
Temecula. It's just east over the mountains from Orange County, north of San Diego.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, did you ever see snow down there?
Yeah, it snowed like twice.
And
But
in 20 years?
yeah, but we were an hour and 15 minutes from the mountains too, so
Okay.
you could actually get up in the snow for you could see the snow on the mountains. That's one thing I miss here. At least if the mountains were there, even if you couldn't go to the mountains, if you could see the mountains with the snow on them, it's just a lot nicer to look at than
Yeah.
flat.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the gray without leaves and stuff. But
So we're gonna get your whole story today. Where we're gonna originate. Well, let's go back to the very beginning, to your earliest musical memories. Where did all this come from? All this stuff.
Well, when I was about 11 years old, I took piano lessons for about a year. Had a pretty musical house. We had a piano. My mom would always sit down and play. My brothers, one of my brothers plays horn. So I hated piano. I mean, I hated going to piano lessons. I hated stopping what I was doing to go to piano lessons. But once I got there, I really liked it. Mm. Anyways, I could only tolerate it for about a year. And a lot of sports. It got in the way of a lot of things as a kid anyway. But then when I was a freshman in high school, I decided I wanted to use, what I'd learned. I played a little bit all along. So I did, I played at the talent show at Worthington High School.
Yeah.
Played Freebird,
all right.
Of all things. Not as crazy at the time as it is now, play Freebird.
I learned how to play slide guitar to Freebird around the same time, probably.
Yeah,
what year are we talking? 9th grade.
Oh, I'm not gonna fall for that. No.
Wait, whoa.
Not gonna fall for that, Rod.
Yeah.
Gosh, it was probably 1980. Freshman, around there.
Yeah, it was the same.
Yeah. So I did that, and I had seen a band called Freeway at a party, kids my age.
Okay.
And I just dug that a lot. That was Frank Lydia and Grant Gilkey and Dave Haynes from high school. I think Brad Foreman was the guitar player. I don't either Brad or Grant. And anyways, I kind of wedged my way in with those guys, but I didn't have any keyboards, But Dave Haynes, his dad was Don Haynes, who was a well-known pianist around the area.
Okay.
He was blind. And we'd practice over at their house, and he had some keyboards that he let me use. So that's how I kind of got started in the band thing. I don't think I ever got to play a gig with them. But in 80, 81, that band became Fusion.
Okay.
And that, again, was Frank Lydia, Steve Drozdowski, and Grant Gilkey, and myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's kind of where we launched off at.
Would you consider that your first band?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
We got gigs. Our first bar gig was at the Bitter Creek Saloon down on campus. Mm-hmm. And it was right next to Papa Joe's, just a little, I think it was an alley, and they put a roof on it because it was just long and skinny.
Yeah.
And Papa Joe's on campus, being like the most popular bar, had a line down the block. So that line would go right in front of the window where we were playing at. And people got sick of waiting in line or whatever, and they heard us playing, and they'd come in. So this Bitter Creek Saloon was tiny, but it would just be assholes to elbows packed.
Uh-huh.
And they would also let us put our own person at the door, which we were, 15 years old anyway. So we had like one of our buddies at the door. And if you had anything, you could show them. They let, we charge them $2, get in there.
You know,
We'd all make.
you get paid right that way too. You trust your.
Yeah, well, we would make like, $25 a piece.
Yeah.
I don't think we got paid right, but
Yeah.
it was all our friends from school. Some of our teachers were there.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Neil Walters there. He was a musician in Rainbow Canyon CV. He was our U.S. history and government teacher, and I remember him being in there, thinking, "Oh my God, we're in trouble." He never said anything other than he liked it a lot.
Okay.
So, yeah, the Bitter Creek. Those were our first gigs. Then we played, Worthington High School. We played Dublin High School. We played Westerville North, Westerville South.
Yeah.
And gained popularity. And we got into Rock Wars one year, QFM 96 Rock Wars. Came in second place. But then we got on the Hometown album, QFM 96 Hometown album, which is interesting because they brought that back this year after, 30 years of being gone.
All right.
And that was cool. We did the second Rock Wars, and then we won the QFM 96 Rock Wars. And we were on the Hometown album, and that was a trip to be able to pull up to school at high school at 7:30 in the morning and playing your song. Back then QFM was pretty much the only rock station around. Blitz wasn't around yet. So that was pretty trippy. And that kind of got us. The Rock Wars was at Screaming Willie's.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who else mentioned that in one of the other interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was Merv or something, but consequently we got to open up for like Crack the Sky, the producers. What was that drummer from Leonard Skinner? Artemis Pyle. Yeah, really? I didn't even know who that was when I was a kid. And that was Mr. Walters. I go, "Hey, we're opening for Artemis Pyle," and I didn't even know who it was. He's like, "What? That's a drummer for Leonard Skinner." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, I know who that is, of course." So, that was our first chance.
That's why you're still 15 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So yeah, that was.
So who was drumming in that band?
In Fusion?
Yeah.
At that time was Steve Gosdowski, and he was a year older than us. So, he graduated a year before us, and he went to Ohio State, while we were still in high school, and tried to hang for a while. He went to pre-med school, and we got more and more gigs, and we would dump him off like at 3:00 in the morning on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And his grades just started getting worse, and eventually his parents said no more. So we had we had Chris Porter, Danny Boyd drummed for us for a while. Gosh, man, we had a lot of drummers, good ones too.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
So here's a question for you. You have this background, you had a year's worth of piano lessons. Now, what would your piano teacher like?
Well, it's funny to go back even further. In elementary school, I took violin for like 2 or 3 years. And the teacher would always demonstrate, each piece, everything we had to do, and he'd play it. And then I'd play it. So I took 2 years of violin, never learned a note. But as long as I saw him play it, I could play it, So it took me a long time to learn my scales and everything. I did, because my piano teacher would do the same thing. I could copy the scales. That's how I learned the scales from her, which, who cares how you learn your scales? You got to learn them. Mm-hmm. As far as the pieces go, as long as she would play it first, by ear, I could play it. Mm-hmm. So, she saw all through that. And you need to practice your scales more. And I still, I didn't get that together as quick. That wasn't the first thing I did because I wanted to play these songs, you know. Yeah. I want to learn scales. A lot of people, you know, want to jump in and play songs. They want to learn the fundamentals.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially when you're a kid, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So that she wasn't strictly classical, or was she?
You know what? She pretty much was. I mean, she didn't teach me anything that I really wanted to learn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's for sure.
So all the stuff that you learned, you basically did by ear?
Yeah, I mean,
like the stuff that was yours.
I learned to read notes, you know, and I could play basic, you know, green sleeves and stuff out of the basic learning books. And then eventually chord charts. But I can't read, you know, I couldn't do a session, you know, sight read a session or anything, which I wish I could, of course. You know, at this point, all the opportunities I could have had over the years, I've been able to do that.
Can you read chord charts?
Yeah,
yeah.
I can read basic chord charts.
And
and write them.
You know, right, so that's probably as much as music as you'll ever get.
Right.
Nobody's going to give you a piano score and have you play it.
Right. No, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
No.
So you're basically, you got your start with her, but you're basically, a lot of the stuff that you're learning, you're self-taught.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So
other than
and then Fusion, did they do Freebird?
So no, but so I wasn't very good. I wasn't a very good keyboard player, and when I got in the band with Frank and Grant and Steve, they did a lot of Rush, and primarily Rush, Van Halen. Not much for a keyboard player to do on that. Eventually, a Journey. So I learned, you know, basic keyboard parts that Geddy Lee would do with his foot. You know.
Yeah.
Which is just, you know. So that's how I started out in the band, is doing that easier stuff, and then eventually got a little more challenging. And
you got into Night Ranger.
Yeah, Night Ranger, you know, and that was primarily because we had Grant Gilkey on guitar who could shred both those guys' parts, you know, and transition perfectly. So, you know, and that was motivating to be surrounded with talent like that. That kind of boosted me up. But eventually I handled the business end of it as well. So I still wasn't that good. I wasn't a very good singer at all, you know, at that point. So running the business, booking the band, you know, logistics and stuff like that. As I got better.
Yeah.
You know. So
they kept you around because you were booking the band.
Right. So I had to make myself valuable, very invaluable, so they couldn't get rid of me.
Yeah. So how long did Fusion last, the original Fusion?
So
who came up with the name?
Oh yeah, you know, you were asking me about that. So that was Grant's mom, I believe, because it was just Fusion was just a combination of we played all kinds of rock, you know, pretty much unaware of the actual term for a fusion band.
Well, the other thing is, when I use the word fusion, I just mean mixing of things now.
Right. That's what it was.
Yeah.
You know, but
historically, the definition, this is the early 80s?
Yeah.
For you?
Yeah.
Historically, back then, like the Dregs and the Herbie Hancocks of the world.
Yes. Exactly. So there was some gigs where we did some gigs like at Ohio State games with the student unions and stuff like that, and not necessarily for the students, but for the older people would come in, and then, you know, they wouldn't expect what we were playing. You know, they thought they were going to see jazz fusion.
Yeah.
You know?
They were pissed.
We pissed a few people off over the year. You know, they'd get there like an hour early to get a seat and sit around, and then we'd come.
And you're playing on the was it Saga?
Yeah. We're playing some Van Halen or something.
Yeah.
That was, we pissed some people off. That was funny. But so that went on to 84.
Okay.
84, 85. And then some members we had some member changes, but we had this following. So we wanted to keep our following. We didn't want to lose our following.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the same band, and we were doing more 80s kind of progressive
Okay.
stuff.
Like what?
Man, it was. I mean, I don't even know. You would call it like new wave now.
Okay.
You know, well, maybe back then, like Simple Minds, Psychedelic Furs,
Yeah.
stuff like that. We played a lot of producers. We actually played with those guys when we were young, so we producers, and we ended up opening up for Saga at it wasn't the Agora at the time, it was the Newport. And I mean, I'm sorry, we opened up for the Outfield. I take that back. And we opened that night with that Saga tune, and people thought we were Saga because our singer kind of looked like the singer. John Oswald kind of looked like the singer in Saga.
Okay.
But that night at the opening for the Outfield, that was kind of like what changed. That kind of propelled us, like just instantly everywhere we played. There was
a following.
75 more people added to our regular following.
Yeah.
Because it was, packed. I mean, you open up for a lot of bands and you don't get paid well, like Bert was saying, at 12-pack, and maybe $100, or $200. So if you pick the right ones, it's worth its weight in gold. If you pick the wrong ones, you're opening up for somebody and nobody's there.
Yeah.
Because they know the band's,
And the band breaks up because you refuse to do Inagata Davida.
Yeah, right. Right.
Not that I know anything about that.
Yeah. But yeah, so we did a bunch of shows with Rosie when we were young, and the Gods, and those were perfect for us. We didn't have to do that very long because they had such huge followings.
Yeah.
We were a good solid band, so people weren't booing us or throwing stuff at us, and then they would start following us, so we would open up, let's say we'd open up for Rosie, 4 or 5 times in those couple of years, 6 times. And then we started headlining the Alrosa, at our own shows. And some of those people would come see us.
Mm-hmm.
So just how we gained popularity.
Yeah.
Just kind of.
Alrosa was the hub of everything. Yeah,
Alrosa was the hub, but there was the campus scene as well, which we took advantage of. Yeah, we took advantage. We got gigs at the Newport. We did college night every Thursday for a long time, and that was cool because that's a huge stage and a huge, venue. So we had our campus following, which was weird too, because those people wouldn't necessarily come to the Alrosa. And
that's what I hear. Merv told me it's like there's not that many people that were both campus and Alrosa people.
Right. No, that's true. So it was cool. It was 2 totally cool scenes, totally different, totally cool scenes. He nailed it on that. But yeah, the Alrosa, we were, 16, 17 years old playing there. And then Diane and Cindy be at the door, and we'd be scared of them. We'd stay away from the front door because we didn't want them to throw us out, knowing we were underage and stuff. And it's kind of funny. And then sometimes we would go see a band there, and if they were in a good mood, they'd, hey, you guys, come on, go ahead in. And other times they'd go, hey, we need to see your ID. And we're like, oh crap, okay, we gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
Couldn't use the fake IDs there. They know you.
Huh?
Couldn't use the fake IDs there.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So when did what's the deal with Fusion? And then there is Desperately Seeking Fusion.
Yeah, so we had some member changes. John Oswald became our lead singer. The music changed a little bit, but we wanted to keep that all that hard work we did with that following. So we just kind of tweaked the name. John Coleman was our drummer at the time, and he came from Ronald Cole's band.
Okay.
I think he was the Trillionaires at the time. And he had a button that said Desperately Seeking Fusion. And we're like, okay, let's just call it that. It's got fusion in it.
Yeah.
So we keep that. So
Yeah.
maybe we can hold on to some of our following.
Yeah.
Change the music a little bit. It did some of the same stuff though. That band just wasn't as technical to pull off,
Yeah.
Rush.
Did you still have Grant in the band at that time?
Yeah, Grant was in the band.
Okay. How was he?
What's that?
How was he to play with?
Oh, Grant was amazing. I mean, when he was 14, 15 years old, he was just out of control.
Yeah.
I mean, just people just jaw dropping. And then we'd do these shows opening up for the Outlaws or at the Alrosa or John Butcher Axis or, gosh, I'm trying to think who else. Fairweather. We'd open up for these guys and people were just jaw dropping. And then, to watch him play, it was just a blast,
Yeah.
That's why those songs like any Night Ranger tunes or anything,
yeah,
he can just shred all those parts and nail them.
Yep. So I'm going to be interviewing him hopefully soon too.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to talk to him. Yeah.
So Desperately Seeking Fusion was after Fusion?
Yeah. So yeah, we're doing like Talking Heads and Wang Chung and still we had this good following. We were playing like a club, PM Columbus or DC Ringside. It was DC Ringside and then PM Columbus. And we play there it started out we play every Thursday night, and the guy let this ride for a while. It wasn't very popular, but it got busier and busier. And then we ended up leaving and going on the road and being away for a while. And then we came back and like, well, Thursday night's packed with ladies' night or something. So you guys can play, Wednesday night. So we started over, built the crowd back up. And then the guy sold it. And the other guy didn't want to pay us more money. So right across the parking lot was DC Ringside at the time, became Pops, and then Hot Peppers.
Okay.
So we go across.
Tell me about Hot Peppers.
Yeah. So Hot Peppers, we would play there every Wednesday. It's every Tuesday or Wednesday, I can't remember, for years. And it was just a place to go. I mean, all the musicians, all the bar and restaurant people that were off, midweek or whatever, would come in there. And that place would be jammed, it'd be rocking. We would have somebody come and open up, play at 10 o'clock, play the first slot. We'd go on at 11:30, play a couple hours. And it was a riot. I mean, it would be like a party Tuesday night or Wednesday night.
With all the industry, all the bar people in
yeah.
there. Your name would get around pretty quickly that way too.
Right. And then and Daddy Longlegs played there, and that was Ronald Cole and Ricky Soga and Mark Chatfield. After Ronald passed away, John Oswald, who was Desperately Seeking Fusion singer, myself, and Phil Maneri, Matt Mace, he was the drummer. He drummed for the Gods for a while, and Mark Chatfield. We would play there every Tuesday night in Love Hit, and just try to carry on that tradition. And that was just another night. It was like Tuesday, Wednesday night. There.
You're still in high school?
No, I was out of high school by then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Out of high school by then. So.
You're 19.
Yeah, no. That was funny because maybe you experienced this when I was 19, that you raised the drinking age, so I was grandfathered in.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't, they were raising it to 21, but they didn't go from 18 to 21.
Yeah. So 19, you could do it?
19, yeah. I don't think we could drink liquor. No, I don't remember. We talked about that 3-2 beer, that you could drink 3-2 beer at the time.
Okay.
But I think that, when it turned 18, then they changed the age to 19,
Okay.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like Friday. It was like a weekend on Tuesday and Wednesday. Yeah.
Okay, so after how long did Desperately Seeking Fusion?
Well, so that's kind of on and off, from 84 to, um, gosh, not till I moved till like 95. Because during that time period, I left the band for a while and I played in the Mimi Rasoban Band.
Yeah,
She had left Spitting Image
look like David Bowie.
and formed her own. Yeah, she had the spiked,
Yeah,
pink spiked hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you meant.
so you really shedded the new wave kind of keyboard stuff.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, that was the best time period.
For a keyboard player to be.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
every band needed one.
Yeah, and yeah, all those sounds and all this. I had a rack of synthesizers and a Yamaha CP7 grand piano,
Yeah,
and there was other guys running around playing like Pete Seaman and there was just a bunch of good keyboard players, and I always like idolized Neil Andrews, Richard Bradburn from the Muffs. Neil Andrews was in Money.
Yeah.
After Muffs became Money, and then so yeah, I was in Mimi Rousseau for a couple of years, 84, 85.
Okay.
And Danny Boyd was our drummer. John Perez, who I went to high school with, he ended up being a guitar player in that band. And she taught me how to sing. So that's when I became a decent singer. Mimi taught me. Yeah, Mimi Rousseau.
How did she do that?
Just basically teaching me my breathing and my diaphragm work and getting out of my comfort zone and giving me the parts going, okay, this is, you're singing this. I'm like, okay.
She's giving you a deadline.
Yeah, she gave me a deadline and she gave me
and also the breathing and all that. Okay.
And the confidence. And then we're playing 5 nights a week for those couple years. We would play a place for 2 weeks at a time.
Okay.
Tuesday through Saturday, 2 weeks. And then we'd go to the East Side and play Dirty Sally's for 2 weeks. And then we'd go to the Blarney Stone and play for 2 weeks.
How old was she? She older than you?
Yeah. Yeah, she's older than me. Maybe 8 years.
She's got some experience.
Oh yeah. Spitting Image was an MCA band. They were pretty big.
Okay.
And they had some really good musicians. Spit Image was, they were, nationally, they were big.
Okay.
But she gave me the confidence and the skill. And then when you're playing every night and you're a kid like that, or like we were, you get good and tight. Any problems get ironed out.
Yeah.
And especially when you're working for her and, hey, there's a problem, we're going to go over this and iron it out, That's kind of how I really honed my craft.
Yeah.
Was playing like
college.
Going to college. Yeah, exactly.
That was like college for you. Yeah.
And learning how to drink and play and, make it from Tuesday to Saturday. Not burning out and burning your voice out. And whatnot. But yeah, that's where I learned how to sing.
So did you quit her or did she break up with that?
No, so eventually I kind of like missed more of the collaboration thing. And me and some of the guys, Grant and myself, we got Desperately Seeking Fusion back together.
Okay.
We kind of almost didn't go away at some point, like down on campus. Our sound guy from high school, Chris Sager, his sister married his brother-in-law owned Marco Polo's, so we would play there all the time. And then Mimi would play there all the time. Then we had a band we just called the Clusterfuck, and it was Fusion, Renegade, and Mimi Rousseau Band. So we had like these 15 people, and we'd go up and do a song, Mimi Rousseau, and then John Perez would come up from Renegade and play guitar, and then Danny Boyd would, he was our drummer.
Okay.
He actually drummed in both bands at some point.
Which
John
which
Oswald sing.
which bands?
What's that?
Which bands did Danny Boyd? I know he was
Well,
he was
he
in the
was first in
Gods.
He was in Desperately Seeking Fusion.
All right.
You know, I don't know the time. Yeah, Desperately Seeking Fusion. Then he was in Mimi Rousseau. So we were in both those bands together.
Okay.
He wasn't in the Gods until after we were done with all that.
Okay.
Until after we were done playing together.
Shock 2.
I believe. Yeah, Shock 2. And I could have that timeline wrong.
Yeah, it's fine.
Maybe when you talk to Danny, he'll correct it. But,
Yeah.
but we spent quite a few years together in one band or another.
Mm-hmm.
Having a good time.
Yeah.
Getting good, honing. You know, that's where we got good, man. Playing every night like that.
Yeah. So what would you do in that band? Was it original or Mimi Rousseau?
Yeah, so we did a lot of covers, but she had originals. You know, we would probably pay 20 or 30% originals, you know, each set.
Okay.
She had some good tunes and some Spitting Image tunes, which I would assume she probably wrote.
Okay.
You know, or wrote the lyrics, not the whole.
And they were huge.
Mm-hmm.
Image.
They were big back then. Spitting Image, McGuppy Lane, the Muffs, the Gods, you know,
Yeah.
Rosie Money. Those were big regional
Yeah.
bands. Some of them, like Spitting Image, they were signed for a couple albums. You know, I don't know what happened with all that. And I think Mimi had that MCA contract for a little while. Yeah, so that's kind of where I learned. Well, I took what I learned there, and that's what we did with Desperately Seeking Fusion, is we wrote and we would play cover tunes, but we'd play like 20 or 30% original music. And you know, we caught a lot of flack for being a cover band. You know, back then it was the late 80s, early 90s. And there was a lot of good all original bands playing campus.
Mm-hmm.
Like Merck said, they played Bernie's, Ruby Tuesday, these clubs where they, you know, they play four or five bands that play all originals all night. Yeah. So, you know, I don't know what they did with the money. They, you know, people paid $5 to get in and split up that money. These places are not that big down there. You know, we have a sound system, sound man, a guitar tech, light man, 4 guys, a truck. We had to sustain, you know, a living at that point. But we still wanted to be able to play original music. Yeah. But we didn't want to really suffer for it. So
I'm amazed that Columbus was that hip that they would allow you to, that there are bands that just did original music.
Well,
because and you know this, you're worldly, you've been around, you've left, you know what the world is like.
Right.
A lot of places, I don't want to hear your song. I want to hear Pride and Joy.
Well, that was one of the other cool things about campus. And when I say the campus scene that we were in wasn't necessarily that other part where you could go see 3 all original bands at these little places. But I don't think anyone could make any money, you know?
All right.
And like bands like Ronald Cole, who were like, they were huge, you know, and their tunes were great. They would have, I don't know if they traveled or not, but they would play once or twice a month at the Agora or the Newport, and it'd be packed. But
so are you an Agora guy or a Newport guy?
Well,
how do you remember it? I ain't falling for that.
I remember it being the same either way. When I was a kid, it looked the same from the inside of me when it was the Agora. I mean, I played the Cleveland Agora too, and the Akron Agora, you know, as a kid. Yeah. But it looked the same. It's always looked the same.
No, when I say that, it's like it's different generations know it as a different place.
I know. I'm in the transitional.
Okay.
In the transitional group. I was there for the end of the Agora.
Okay, got it.
So
how did you get into money?
Yeah, so So back in Desperately Seeking Fusion, and always idolized Money because they always had the killer keyboard players and the great keyboard songs, you know. Like I said, Richard Bradburn, he was in the Muffs, and then the Muffs became Money, and Neil Andrews did that album. I can't remember, it was one with Rick Hall, and they all got the chains and the dogs, and they actually did well in England.
Okay.
And so like Neil Andrews, man, he was my, idol, and eventually my mentor.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, he left, he had a family and stuff, and everyone else wasn't done traveling. So I auditioned and just kind of clicked right away, and then ended up playing in that band, and that was like a dream. It was like a dream, as a kid. And I always felt very fortunate because those guys were a little bit older, and they'd been through.
I hear a lot older.
Yeah, well, with their success
John's
that they had, me being younger.
Yeah.
I was very impressionable, making money, touring, traveling. I could have been a mess as a kid if I would have been with them. If I was their age when they were younger, and the stories I heard, that they survived, I probably would have survived.
Yeah.
So, so I was fortunate, to be in that band, hook up with those guys. Tom Wisen, he's a great songwriter. Durzo, me and Durzo used to drink a 12-pack of beer at sound check, at 5:30, before we go home and take a nap.
Yeah.
Come back.
What was your nickname?
Oh, that's his nickname for me. That's not my nickname. That's only John's.
Yeah, what did he call you?
Kenn Baby Love, he calls me. Yeah.
That's because you're the guy that had the girlfriend, and all the girls swooned after you.
I don't know.
And you were faithful to your girlfriend, and that's what he told me.
Yeah, that's true.
That he benefited from you having a girlfriend.
That's what he said, huh?
So
that's funny.
So all those guys, yeah. Okay. What was Durso like to play with?
Oh man, just thunderous. That whole band was the first loudness, and then I had my own wall of sound of keys too. So it was just like, you had your metal bands out there with their Marshall stacks or whatever, but you had money with, we had Marshall stacks, and Durzo had, 16 cabinets, so I had to keep up with those guys.
Yeah. And he had the bass pedals too.
Yeah, he had bass pedals, and at one point he got a sampler. I don't know if he ever got that off the ground, but he could almost play anything that I could play on his bass. He had some sort of tracking thing and a sampler. But
more high tech than.
It was, he's a high tech guy, but I think that was over his head too. He got rid of that eventually. Didn't use it.
Well, even the bass pedals. That's just I can't even imagine.
Right. I can, because that's how I learned how to play, just single notes.
Yeah. But you're playing bass at the same time now.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely a trick to that.
Yeah.
Like playing drums,
Yeah.
Getting both your feet going, your hands.
So how long was your stay in Money?
So I think it's around 3 years, 85, 86 to 88, 89-ish. And then back to Desperately Seeking Fusion, which again, none of that at any time really dies completely. But I'm in Desperately Seeking Fusion. Money's not playing much. We still probably played some gigs though. It just wasn't much, it wasn't too often. Yeah. I believe Durzo was married at the time to his first wife, and less people are looking to travel, so we kind of cut that out. So back in Desperately Seeking Fusion, and we're back doing now we're doing heavy travel, now band. Spring break in Florida, Panama City, Key West, Fort Lauderdale,
Uh-huh.
North
What
Carolina.
is the connection between Columbus, Ohio, and Florida?
Is it Columbus, Ohio, and Florida? I thought it was everybody up north in Florida.
I'm just no. Well,
I
everybody
know.
in Columbus had really great booking agents. That was one of the wonderful things.
Yeah.
But everybody's telling me, the Gods went down there and they recorded the Numbers album down at Criteria.
Right.
And everybody went to Florida. Everyone, we did this in Florida.
Yeah. Well, look at all the friends we have, musician friends we have in Florida. Carl's down there.
Yeah.
Chris Cooksey, Gravy's down there.
And
Durzo. Uh-huh. Those guys are living there.
Yeah.
But we had a booking agent. He would book us in Key West, Florida, and Panama City, and that was it. And then we had to get the other stuff ourselves because we're like, okay, we're driving all this distance, we're there, and then we got to drive all this distance back. So as a kid, I'd gone to Hilton Head, South Carolina for vacation with my parents, from when I was little, and then went to a club there called Wingo's, and I called Wingo. He was a Grammy winning, he wrote soap opera video in a bar, soap opera music. And so he booked us there, got a gig in Alabama, zigzagging around, we played the Button in Hollandale a lot, in South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to play with a lot of big bands there. That was a rough gig though, because that place was open till 4 a.m. So it was a different experience.
Yeah. And you were yeah. I can imagine it was probably the best times of your life.
It was insane. We would play with Bad English. We would play a set at 10 o'clock and open up because we're playing there all week. So we're playing every night with no matter who else is playing there. Mm-hmm. So we play 10, we do an opening set for Bad English. They would play and they would get out of there at 11:30 or 12, get everything out of there. Well, 12:30, we do 2 more sets. So we're getting done at 4 o'clock in the morning. And then everybody's going, hey, let's go to the we're having after hours party. I'm like, this is after hours,
Mm-hmm.
You go somewhere from 5 a.m. till noon. That's the after hours party.
Yeah.
We're over here up north, we're trying to get into bed by the time the sun comes up.
Right.
On most nights.
Yeah. Did you always have a day job or never?
No, I never did until I moved to California. And
that was mid 90s?
Yeah.
So what happened there?
Yeah.
So eventually everything in Columbus.
I was burnt traveling, playing. Mm-hmm. We play in Florida, we play in Anchorage, we played in Alaska 2 or 3 times. One time we went from Key West to Anchorage, Alaska in 3 days. In 2 days, we went from 90 miles from Cuba to 90 miles from Russia in 48 hours. It was insane. So when that I just was burnt, and my wife at the time, she's she went to school in California, had family there, and she's like, how much longer are we gonna do this? And I'm like, you know what, I'm pretty burnt. She's like, I want to go move to California. I'm like, okay, let's go do it. So moved out to California in 95, 96. And I was so burned out. I was just silence and darkness. I didn't listen to music. I didn't go see bands. Mm-hmm. I was just fried for that year. And then she was an actor, so she was bartending to make money, and there was a band playing, a 3-piece band Bluefish, and she's like, yeah, I know a guy you need to meet, because they didn't really have a singer, they all sang.
Mm-hmm.
So she introduced me to them. They go, yeah, come on over and jam. We jammed, and then from then on, I was in that band for 20, 21
So here's
years.
a question for you. So what people who don't know you don't know about you is most of the pictures we see of you is with a guitar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Your organ, are you doing Pride and Joy?
Oh yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Because
It's
first
just
of all, when I think of a guitar, and I think of the '80s, and I think of like Aldo Nova.
yeah. Right.
But
Yeah. Fantasy.
you made it. Now you're going like so you learn all that stuff just by listening and imitating.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. I know enough now. If I get stuck somewhere, I can look up a chord.
Yeah.
Like some of the hard stuff now, like I'll call Grant. I'm like, Grant, what's this chord? I don't,
Yeah.
because he knows his stuff, and I get lost, but I can pretty much.
In other words, yeah, your sound on the guitar with the. I was watching the video. I guess it was 2010.
Yeah, I got a new one
Yeah.
now.
That's what you use mostly, live.
Well, so what happened was, like I said, I when I was in Money, Neil Andrews used to use one,
Mm-hmm.
and so he got me started. But then in Desperately Seeking Fusion, in the early '90s, I became the front man of the band. I became the singer. So then it was kind of like, so I didn't have to be tied down and singing.
Mm-hmm.
I used it the front.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned to use it differently than even when I first started.
Yeah. But blues organ.
Yeah,
Is
that's
a lot different than Simple Minds.
Yes, right.
So
Right,
you're a constantly growing musician.
Right.
That I know there's a lot of people that who they were in 1985 is who they are now. But you kept at it.
Right. Yeah, because I wanted to be able to, the other thing I did in Fusion and Desperately Seeking Fusion, and still do and will do, is, we were one guitar band. And so, I learned how to play keyboards for songs that didn't have keyboards in them for two guitar, but not like to make it sound weird, like there shouldn't be a keyboard in that song. There should be two guitars. Well, I don't play guitar.
Yeah.
So so I learned how to do that. I used the front. I didn't use your typical 80s sounds. I have, dirty Hammond B3s that I play on that.
Yeah, that's what I'm enjoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's all these awesome keyboards, they got this, the stuff in these keyboards these days are just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The B3s and the strings and the piano.
Yeah.
Piano sounds. It's
yeah.
It's just that's all that does is control.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. There's not sounds that I use in it.
Okay. It's a MIDI controller.
Just a controller.
Yeah.
And they were
strap on like a guitar.
Right. And now with computers, you buy everybody has controllers.
Yeah.
You just don't necessarily wear it like that.
I have a little guy like this.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're serious about playing keyboards, you can get a big one that's just a controller, with weighted keys and so forth. So, yeah, it's cool.
So but, in California, you were in
Bluefish.
It was Bluefish.
Yeah. Excepting for 2 years around 2005, 2006, when I came back here for a couple of years.
Okay.
Came back, I couldn't make it through the winters. My wife at the time, my kids, first winter was great. Kids had a ball. Second winter, okay, snow day. I got to go to work. I can't stay home, we were like, let's get out of here. We got to go back to California. But in those 2 years, I played in the band called Sonic Boom.
Okay.
Again with Grant, and Keith Wells was our drummer. That was a pretty fun band, pretty fun couple of years doing that. But then I moved back to California, jumped right back into Bluefish. Steve Hager was our bass player. Roger Ellis, our drummer, had passed away from cancer, so Mike Edwards became the drummer. He was a monster drummer, and Rob Miller, our guitar player, so they were real bluesy before I became the singer, and I brought them to more of a place of being a rock band. I brought them to a place of being more rock and heavier. You know, they were a 3-piece, bluesy or 3-piece band, and I thought they wouldn't like me doing that, and they were just welcome and they loved it.
Yeah.
It became more of a rock and hard rock band.
Yeah.
We called it Chuck Berry to Buck Cherry.
Okay.
That's what we play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you moved back. Why did you move back from California?
Recently.
Yeah.
I was able to transfer with my job. My kids grew up. They're older. They're adults now.
Yeah.
My ex-wife passed away last year, so that my kids didn't want to be around in the town where we lived in, so they split as adults. And then I was like, okay, what am I doing?
Yeah.
It's just really expensive.
Yeah.
The music seems great. It's become great, but you can't really make any money.
Yeah.
Like you can here. But it's evolved so much to where, in Temecula 12 years ago, there was 2 or 3 good bands. And now there's any night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you can go to 20 places or wineries and see amazing bands. And none of them are making any money, really.
It's horrible.
Yeah, but it's, most of them don't care. They're, they have jobs, other jobs, and do it for fun. And
yeah.
But it's a cool place, but it's really expensive to live.
Yeah.
They're really expensive.
Glad to be home.
Rich.
So you got the old band back together with some new people.
The cliche.
Let's get the band back together, Elroy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because the interest for it was just kind of like, okay, well, we'll see what happens. We had a rehearsal. It was like putting on an old glove. Jeff Robert being the drummer, he was the drummer in Desperately Seeking Fusion for years. So he was our drummer from high school. He lives in Arizona, and has a living there. So he's not about to come back. So Jeff, was the obvious. He played with us before, and had a rehearsal, put a few feelers out. We booked, we haven't even played yet. We have 20 dates, this year. So it's been pretty incredible.
That's good.
And since then, when I started out with Frank and Grant, I wasn't a lead singer, and I've been that for the past 25 years. So it's cool to have 2 lead singers. I grew up watching Frank sing, and his voice just being as amazing as it is. And Grant still shreds on the guitar.
Yeah.
Who
does he who are his heroes?
Oh man,
who does he sound like?
You'll have to ask him, man. He can sound like anybody.
Okay.
And it's all in the touch too.
Yeah.
Whether it's Eddie or Brad Gillis or those.
Okay. That kind of guitar player.
Yeah.
All the 80s.
E. Martinis and just
George Lynch.
Yeah, Lynch. We used to do that. We used to do that in the 90s.
Yeah. Dream Warriors.
Lynch Mob. Yeah, Lynch Mob. That was fun stuff. That was when I first started singing. When I became a singer, I'd sing that stuff. Yeah. Good stuff.
Well, thank you, Ken. Uh, so when is the next time you're playing?
Yeah, so we just announced this morning our first show, June 4th, Lazy Chameleon,
Okay.
and sold out already. So
Really?
yeah, so we're
This
gonna
is
have
wonderful.
yeah, it's pretty cool. Some of its capacity is a little lower with COVID than we'd like right now.
Yeah.
Hopefully by June that's different, but
Yeah.
we'll have another announcement tomorrow on that. We're just trying to
Okay.
nail down some details.
All right. So here's a question for you before we go. There's this night that Yngwie Malmsteen was at Alrosa, and you guys were playing. Do you remember
Yeah,
any of
money.
that?
Yeah. So I have a couple Matt Jones stories anyway.
Okay.
But that one, yeah, he got it was a little bit wrong because Mike Easy was bringing Yngwie in, and we were getting ready to play, so we weren't looking to have any guests at the time. But Rick Hall, our drummer, he's getting dressed, so he's like totally just buck naked, and the door opens slowly, and Yngwie's like, "Where's the nose cheese?" With his accent. I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And he's like, "Oh, he wants cocaine or whatever." And Rick Hall's naked. He's like, "Have some fucking respect, get the hell out of here." And I guess he had already caused problems at the bar, so
Yeah.
Rick was already ready to throw him out, so Mike had to get him out of there. Mike Easy got him out of there. And
So did you see it happen?
yeah, I was standing right there.
Okay.
I saw the door to the dressing room just kind of open slowly.
Okay.
Well, who the hell's that? Because everybody knows, and our crew knows not to bother us at that time period before we go on stage. Everything's, in place or whatever. So, but yeah, Rick Hall was especially irritable at that moment.
Yeah.
It was comical. It was funny. I have another Matt Jones story too. We were in Panama City, Florida, on playing spring break, and we play all week there, and various bands play on the outdoor stage, and we're down at the club at the pool during the day, and here comes our Speedwagon's bus rolls in. Here comes Kevin Cronin, and these guys they look like they drove all night.
Yeah.
So he goes over to the pool and lays down on a lawn chair, on a pool chair, and he falls asleep. And I'm just sitting at the pool, and Matt comes down. He goes, "Oh man, that's Kevin Cronin. I want to get a picture with him. I'm going to go get a picture with him." I'm like, "Dude, he's sleeping. Do not bother him."
Yeah.
He's, "No, I want to get those cameras, the throwaway ones, find him or whatever." He gives me his camera. He goes, "I'm going to get." So he goes and he wakes him up, and there's a picture of Kevin Cronin and Matt Jones.
Must be really irritable.
Pissed. Yeah, I wish I had that picture because it was like, I felt horrible for the guy. I'm like, do not wake him up, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. So
Thank you, Rob.
you clarified the Yngwie picture because I have you're the third person.
Yeah.
And you were there.
Each story is probably a little inaccurate, but
yeah,
I think I remember that one pretty dang.
Yeah.
Pretty dang close.
Yeah. So
luckily Mike Easy was there to mitigate that whole thing.
All right. Well, this is now he's got cool points again.
Yeah, right.
All right. Thanks, Ken. And
thanks, Rob.
You be well, and
okay.
Keep in touch and let when you're playing.
Awesome, man.
Let us all know.
Okay.
All righty.
All right.
See you then.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good one.